Hey guys, Wolvie here, and this is a longer video than usual for the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia Global. Now, the reason why I say longer, because this is going to be in 2 halves and 1 video. Now, the first half is going to be the rework analyses for the following characters. Yang from Final Fantasy IV, Faris from Final Fantasy V, and Golbez from Final Fantasy IV. So, that's on that. I mean, I'll be going with the order of what I said there. So it's Yang, then Faris, then Golbez. So the thing between the 3 for my accounts, I do not have Yang's LD weapon. I do have everything for both Faris and Golbez weapon-wise. So that's on that. So it's going to be those 3, and then the second half is going to be an announcement that's going to affect this section of the channel. So it's not the entire channel itself, but this particular section of the channel, where I have most of my videos. And the reason why I say it's major, because this was not the announcement I have. This was not an easy one for me to make, and it was more than a year in the making. That sort of thing. So, with that being said, for this particular video, I'll have information related to both the Tomberry trip and the Sandy.the.tabby website in the description below. You guys can check that out on your own time. So pertaining to the announcement, I'm going to have a GoFundMe that's kind of tied to it in the description below as well. So once I get to the announcement, you'll get to see a little bit of a reason why. So anyway, the usual disclaimer, any opinion in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. So I'm going to be doing this kind of live in this sense, because again, when I did like another recording of this, but I kind of screwed up on the order. So I'm like, I might as well, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so you have to not really fault me on that one. So we're going to go over with Yang. I'm not going to go over anything pertaining to his LD weapon, because again, I don't have it. And let me check one thing. I may be able to grab the information still. That's like not good likely. Oh, actually, no, wait, I actually still can. I got lucky this time. Okay, so we have here Yang's LD ability, FYI. I will be interchanging pronunciation for Yang, because it's like some people pronounce him as Yang, some people pronounce him as Yang, so to honor both pronunciations, that sort of thing. So the ability itself is called Oboro Strike, and you see this really cool looking weapon. It's called Tiger Fang. Now, what this does, now, you get to see here, I believe this is a 4-use max after you MLB and max it out. Now, this is one of those abilities where it's based on the attack, so the higher the attack, the more bravery he deals, damage-wise. So, this is a AoE splash style damage, which is pretty damn good. And you see here the monastic secrets, that's the, that's something he has. And the reason why this is AoE splash style damage is you see right here where you may not be able to see me pointing out, but it says 50% of cumulative HP damage to non-targets on the last HP attack. So you don't see it the first time, you see it the second time. So if you see other LD weapons out there like 7s, where it's like that last hit, you get more damage to everybody, that sort of thing. So this is the 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, and then this is the monastic secrets duration plus 1. So you get 2 turns off of that. And you see this stuff right here. Now, when you use the Oboro Strike, increase, so this is it right here. And this is the LD more passive version. And monastic secrets, this is the information right here. Raises amount stolen, increased bravery, may exceed max, raises physical attack, so composition does matter for Yang. Break is avoided with 1 brave remaining when taking brave attack, which is pretty damn good. And the reason why I say this is pretty damn good is because it's kind of like a brave reprieve. Some units already have this in play as an active passive, without needing any type of weapon. I think Celeste has this, but I'm not 100% sure, and don't quote me. But I think Celeste may be one who has this very passive without needing a weapon to do it. So this is the other information here regarding monastic secrets, all that good stuff. And you might want to take note here. It says cannot be extended. It also does not stack. So that's that on that. So what else about Yang then? For his secondary rework, and yes, it is rework number 2. Now with him, it's like his C50 passive. This does give him the increased chances to counterattack under varying circumstances, which is really nice. And I mean, the only thing to be mindful of here is that you have to make sure he's alive to pull it off. Now, for the C55, C60 passives, it's basically, you know, max bravery overfull in a nutshell, number of hits increase, break damage, that sort of thing. Now, what's good about Yang's secondary rework? What's bad? Now, good thing here is that he is very much like, you know, AoE, you know, closing the distance sort of thing. Which actually is not bad for someone with a fist weapon. And the thing is, he's kind of like units like Squall or even Cloud of Darkness. I want to say Sandy too, but I'm not 100% sure. Because anybody with that AAA configuration in their sphere setup, that's all they're meant to do. Attack, 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 attack. They're all about the offense, nothing else. So this is actually not bad for Yang, whatever, to be like, you know, really on the offense. And this kind of helps him in that case. Now, the bad thing here is that he does not have any means to conserve skill uses. And the reason why I say this is because you're looking at like stuff pertaining to longevity. I mean, even with the LD, he has no means to conserve skill uses. And the thing is like he's going to be running out of gas fast unless you really micromanage, you know, the skills. Now, another thing to keep in mind here is that, yeah, he's a physical attacker. The only way he would work in certain other situations is that if he's paired up with somebody who can enchant him with an element. That way, the physical stuff can be bypassed through the elemental aspect. For example, if you have Yang teamed up with Raijin, and Raijin, you know, even on JP right now, I don't think he has an LD yet. I mean, who knows when he's going to get it, but Raijin, he's one of those who actually does have the means to enchant the party with the element. In Raijin's case, it's Thunder. Now, if you pair Yang with Celeste, her secondary rework, gives her the ability to enchant the ice element to the entire party via her skill 2, or Onion Knight, he has the same mechanism through his additional ability. So the thing is that, you know, with Yang, you have to be extremely careful with team composition because it's like the type of damage he deals. And if it's something, you know, that's something he can't really do, the only way you could bypass that is through the elemental enchant. Now we're going to go into Faris, and like I said, unlike Yang, I do have Faris's entire kit, and that includes her LD weapon. Now let's see if I can do the same trick with Yang, because I know I was able to find his LD weapon info. Actually, wrong screen. So let me see here. Here we go. Now, like I said, I do have Faris's LD weapon. She was going to be a pity for me. It took me quite a bit of resources to actually get her LD weapon. But this is it right here. This is Gladius. This is the name of her LD weapon. The name of the ability itself is called Sword Blade Sword Dance. And this is what it does here. So, the grand total of uses when you MLB and max it out is at 3. The base number is at 2. Now, when it comes to this is where she gets to in-frame her debuffs. Yep. So when it comes down to this right here, it says when an enemy or a character is affected by the maximum double 6 buffs or debuffs, so all this stuff right here. Now, the thing is, there are people who could cleanse debuffs or could dispel buffs. So this is something you guys might want to take a look at, regarding the buffs and debuffs. So this is it right here. Now we're going to go into the 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3 fashion here. Now you may be seeing a certain kitty. That's him. Sandy.the.tabby. Now, this is the 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3, that sort of thing. Now, when it comes down to Faris's, if you see that green, with her skills, this is pretty much what happens and how you get it. You have to have her LD in at least 2 out of 3. So basically, when it comes down to this is max brave down 1, attack down 3, defense down 3, duration plus 4 turns. And either way, for Faris, this is raises to max bravery and attack, although it is slight. Now this is the 3 out of 3 and the LD port passive. Now, with Faris, what happened to her secondary rework? What's good? What's bad? Now, before I go into the good and the bad or whatever, the thing is with Faris, because of her secondary rework, guess who becomes the BFF for her? Rydia. And the reason why I bring Rydia into the equation is because, like Faris, Rydia is an elemental enchanter. They both share the water element. So for enemies who are weak against water, Faris and Rydia can, quote-unquote, play off of each other very well. So with Faris is that her C50 is known as the pirate way, that sort of thing. So we're going to go into the 2-in-1 in this regard. So when it comes down to this is that now she gives herself at the very minimum the water element enchant. So she is now completely locked into an element, which is the minimum number of that is 1. And that being the water element. Now the reason why I say minimum is because of her EX ability, which adds in 2 additional elements into the equation. Those 2 elements being wind and thunder. So it's one of those things, it's like, now we have a an elemental specialist who can debuff. And debuffing is Faris's main role. Now, outside the C50 aspect, that sort of thing, and this is on top of the fact that when it comes to ability mastery, which means you pop off either a skill 1 or a skill 2, you get that plus version right afterwards. That's where you get a slight increase of initial and max bravery to the team. So this is pretty much like what I meant by the 2-in-1 between the pirate weight buff and her C50. So, with that bit out of the way, what are the other aspects of her rework? And again, like Yang, it is rework number 2. Now, for skill 1, the C55 extension, the only thing that I really managed to catch is that it is now AoE splash style damage, meaning that the intended target gets everything, and the non-targets get a fraction of the cumulative damage. Now, the overflow also goes up. Regarding skill 2, is that, first and foremost, cannon fire is now renamed to open fire. Now, the number of brave hits goes up. The improvements of the debuffs in sense of potency and alongside the improvements into overflow. So this is pretty much, the case whether it be the base numbers or the plus variance. Now, with Faris, what's good about this rework? What's not so good? Now, when it comes down, when I said that she is Rydia's BFF, there is more than one reason why that is. And the thing is that, Faris has ways to bypass certain aspects, because granted, she is melee and ranged, but the fact that she is tied down to at least one element actually helps her case. Because it may not be so good on paper, but in reality, she's got the elements. She could cause a lot of havoc if the element is the right one. Now, this could hurt her if it's like the thing that the enemy absorbs, but outside of that, she has the means to bypass certain aspects because she's tied down to an element. Now, the whole thing with Rydia being Faris' BFF is because Rydia does the water enchant to the entire party, which helps Faris in a great deal in that aspect. Now, some people will say the following as what's not good, but you have to remember certain things. Faris is not meant to be a damage dealer. That's not her role. And some people think that is, it's actually not. If you look at the stat grid on the City.the.tabby website for Faris, you will clearly see that the attack stat is on the lower end of the spectrum, meaning that it is not her main forte. It's not her thing. That's not her main role. You look at units like Y'shtola, or even Purim, Lena, or maybe Cryo, because those units do not have a dominant A-sphere in their sphere set. So it's one of those things like, Faris, she got a solid secondary rework, despite the fact that she really needs her LD to help with longevity. And the reason why she really needs it is because, again, without the LD, she will run out of gas. And if you have the LD, you actually can make her a little bit more useful in the sense of, you have all the weapon passives. You can probably start the fight off with skill 1 because you get the mastery right out of the gates. Now, we're going to go into Golbez. Now, like I said, this is going to be a long video because I do have an announcement coming up in the second half of this video. Now, like I said, this has been more than a year in the making, so before I get into that announcement, we're going into Golbez. Now, with Golbez, we're going to go into his LD ability first. So, without his burst weapon, the total number of uses of the LD ability, Black Fang, this is after you MLB and max it out. The total number without the burst weapon is at 4. Total number with the burst weapon is at 5. Now, this is the information pertaining to Black Fang. It is coming from Sapphire Scales, the name of Golbez's LD weapon. Now, this goes into a moderate raise to the attack stat. Now, when it comes down to individuals like LD weapons, it kind of goes into certain stats. Sometimes it's initial bravery, sometimes it's max bravery, sometimes it's a stat attack, sometimes it's a combination of a couple of things. So, a little bit of keeping certain things in mind. Now, this is the 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, and 3 out of 3, alongside the LD passive for Black Fang. Now, we're going to close out of this one real quick. And we're going to go into the information related to the burst weapon itself. It's called Twin Moon, the finishing burst move name. Now, this is the information right here. This is AoE total damage. As far as I know, if you see the information right here, this is AoE total, meaning that, let's say you get the 179,998 to one target. That is to 3 opponents if there's 3 on the field. That's how devastating this is. Now, this is the burst effect of information right here. Now, here's the thing with Golbez is that he is a burst plus recipient later on down the line for global. He does have it on JP. And I will mention here for Golbez, in all fairness, this is one of those characters where it's like JP has been making some very questionable decisions as of late. I mean, for me being a global player, I do pay somewhat close attention as to who's getting what and when. Now, I'm going to have a very special video on that on a later date, because when it comes to the decision making on JP's end, it has some people scratching their heads at certain things. And why I feel, JP really needs to, to be like, okay, might have better balance certain things out. But nevertheless, we're going to see if I can get into the rework for our buddy Golbez. And here we are. This is the character adjustments. So this is it right here. So the rework here, we're going to be seeing stuff for just skill 1, skill 2. The adjustments will be on the information in red or orange red, however you see the color. So this is pretty much the stuff to my right, which is, this is my right, so it's going to be to the right. So we're going to look at this information together. So for skill 1 and skill 2, the thing is that he gets 2 additional skill uses each. And then the thing here for skill 1, this is like Faris' skill 1, it's AoE splash damage, so that's on that. Now, I'm not going to explain everything here because it's a lot to take in. Now, this is skill 2. Again, like skill 1, this has got 2 more uses. And again, like the information you see here. Now, what's good about Golbez? What isn't good? Now, fortunately for Golbez is that, and this may come as a surprise, is that because he is an elemental specialist, he can bypass a lot of things. Meaning that the type of damage, because he's an elemental specialist, because he deals with both melee and magic. So there's not that many situations he will be, like, say, no way, unless if the element in question is dark. So it's one of those things, it's like, some people refer to him as Golbez, and with this rework, it becomes clear as day. Now, the thing is, again, with the dark elements, like I said, that's going to be the one big weakness, he has, but it's for understandably legit reasons. It's because if it's dark element, there's nothing you can do with him. However, if it's dark, the element you need to use, that's your dude. And the thing is with Golbez, for me, I got his burst on the first multi-pull. However, it took me quite a bit to get his LD, which was what I was really aiming for. So for Golbez, it's like Faris, he needs his LD at the bare minimum. But the burst is, you have to have that on top of the LD for Golbez. And the thing is with Golbez, I wouldn't say, when I was saying, the whole thing, he was a subject, questionable decisions by JP, Again, I'm not part of it, but like I said, I do feel JP really needs to, do a better job of balancing certain things and making better decisions, which I will go into a strictly opinionated video, which is going to be a separate video on another day. But I just want to get brief in here, with that piece of information. So, unfortunately, a bad thing with Golbez is the fact that he's a burst plus recipient. It's kind of questions, some of the decision making on JP. So it's the bad thing is it's not for Golbez is that piece of information. Not so much for him as a character, but when it comes down to JP and their decision making. So, with that bit out of the way, like I said, we are now into the second half of the video. Now, kind of wondering what type of announcement am I making, and when I hinted at it's more than a year than a making and not an easy one to make, what type of is it? So here it is. So no later than mid-August, I will no longer be playing the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia Global at all. So with that, like I said, it was not an easy decision to make. It was more than a year than a making. And the reason why I say it like that is because I was contemplating on just taking a break from the game, from coming back to it at a later time. However, I'm one of those people where it's like, if I come back, I'm much more tempted to leave again. And with the majority of the games I've played, and since the mobile gacha games, it's like, I just, one of those things, it's like, I figure out the reason why I quote unquote left in the first place. And I really don't want the temptation to come back. So, like I said, no later than mid-August, I will be leaving the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia for good. I will not be coming back. And for those, so, and for that, so there are other parts to the announcement besides that. One of them is going to be the final character spotlight quick tips and video. The last one is going to be in July. I was thinking about June, but I'm thinking, yeah, I wouldn't push it too soon, but July will be the final character analysis video for this section of the channel. And the final video ever for the DFFOO section of the channel will be the halfway mark between the 3rd and 4th anniversary, meaning that I will not be around for the 4th anniversary at all. There are certain things I will not be able to see, and you know, it is what it is. So that's that on that. And I wish everybody who still plays the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia the very best of luck in all your future pulls. I won't be around to see it, and when it comes down to anybody tied to it, you know, I am still thinking about other things in that regard. But to keep this short and to the point, I will no longer be playing by no later than mid-August. And I'm not going to the reasons why, because that is nobody's business. If you guys want to, you know, help me out during a certain time, because as some of you guys already know, my mother passed away approximately a month and a half ago. And unfortunately, the circumstances behind it, I can't reveal this, is that it has me questioning certain aspects of it, and I may be taking certain people to court over it. So it's one of those things, it's like, I do have a family matter, and the family matter is just like, I have more questions than answers. I will have the GoFundMe link in the description below as well, if you guys can financially, you know, help me fund a lawyer, so to speak. So that's all I have, and that's it on that. So with Wolfie here signing off, I will catch you all on the flip side.